If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. I can just feel my bald head blowing through the wind. Let's get to it. Story number 1. The herd immunity concept is catching steam as the COVID-19 effect continues. There are some new discussions about the pros and cons of considering herd immunity as a new strategy to combat COVID-19. Some scientists feel this strategy is unethical, while some think tanks feel it could possibly work or should be considered. The idea of going about your days as usual with little defense against the virus while just protecting those most vulnerable may sound like a good idea, but some scientists see no solution in this strategy, especially with no vaccine and still no clear understanding of the long-term effects of catching COVID-19. This is another big story that people are talking about as a solution that you may want to keep an eye on. New York's MTA is in desperate need of some federal dollars. They want some federal money to bail them out because customers are kind of dwindling, but the traffic is staying steady as people still need transportations. This could be the cause of price hikes and severe cuts if the federal government doesn't somehow get them some money. So this is another story that's developing because of COVID-19. New York's transit was already in despair, but now they're in even more. The 100-year-old Roosevelt Hotel in New York is also caught in the middle of the COVID-19 is set to close due to the virus. So inside of these stories, people are looking for some solutions. Story number 2. The virus is still here, but people are recovering. There were 41,000 new coronavirus infections reported last week as hospitals have seen an uptick in cases and patients with symptoms. More than 7.8 million have been confirmed to have had COVID-19, according to Johns Hopkins University, which also reported that the death toll has surpassed 215,000. The new question is survival, like how many have survived versus died, and how old were they if they did pass away. It's a new question. Although hospital cases are rising, reports of hospitalizations are still lower than July's daily highs that were more than 59,000, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. A lot of new reports are now showing that the world may be getting a handle on the coronavirus. Let's hope the positive data keeps coming in, and let's hope that we are getting a big handle on this monster called COVID-19. Keep an eye on story number 2. Big headline. Big developing news story. Story number 3. The rational idea of a basic income and what COVID-19 is doing to the educational system. In a report by NPR, Canada is touting the idea for a guaranteed basic income to assist in the midst of a pandemic, leaving the question of how effective could an emergency basic income fund actually be, and who would actually fund such a program outside of an insurance policy. Big story. One report also by NPR says that enrollment at public schools is dropping. People are a little bit dissatisfied with the way public schools have been handling COVID-19. Millions set to be in poverty if handouts stop, according to a BBC report. Philanthropy is big inside of this disease, so hopefully if you have the means to give, please keep giving. A headline in CNBC says that the U.S. unemployment system is broken. We're seeing that take place daily in this COVID-19 wrath. Report by USA Today says that J.P. Morgan Chase is set to spend $30 billion to close the racial wealth gap. Let's hope they start doing that pretty soon, because a lot of people are suffering. A study on what the majority of homeless people do when other patrons give them cash shows that they have better spending habits than some people who have a steady income. So this report, this study showed that when people give money to the homeless, some of them actually have better spending habits than people who actually have a steady income. So story number 3 is a story about finances, ideas being touted to try to combat poverty, and who is actually able to spend the money. But without the government intervention, there still seems to be a lot of just hopelessness as people try to get a different take and a different attitude when it comes to the markets and actually making money. So story number 3, big headline, big developing news. Story number 4, headlines focusing on police affairs are staying alive. Celebrities have been making headlines all across the globe in the fight against police brutality, along with protests and against criminal justice and people wanting change when it comes to just the system. Kanye West took to Twitter along with some other celebrities to voice their concerns about police brutality, even in Nigeria. So this is becoming a big global connection that's taking place not even just on social media, but in the lives of everyday people. Some people just want it to stop, but it continues to go on. A report by Vice says that a black man was shot by a Texas officer after trying to shake the cop's hand. This is another story that adds a lot of fuel to the fire, especially when you try to add race and police brutality. But there are numbers that show police have a history when it comes to each race, and but singling out race seems to be a big concern in America because of its history. But these stories keep developing, and they keep coming up in the headlines because they create buzz, and people, when it comes to this topic, people have a case and people want to talk about it. Story number 4, that's why I said number 4, is because this is one of those stories that just won't go away. Especially when you look at the past and the history of a country that was that had deep ties to slavery. So story number 4, big headline, big developing news stories. Well, those are our top 4 stories that made in this week. I'll be right back with the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories. So don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor the program. Welcome back, and now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Working our way through, calm and collective, into another week. So let's get through it and let's get to it. Story number 5. The UN is sounding the alarm on climate change. In the past 20 years, data is showing a rise in natural disasters that could sound the alarm on climate change. The UN has gone on the record by stating that some parts of the world will now be unlivable due to rises in temperature and weather disasters that have pretty much destroyed once habitable sections of the world where people used to live at. Some people are saying it's because the poles are changing, and there's all different sides to this story, and that's why it made it into the top 8 this week, because it deals with climate change. This story is staying alive, and if man is causing climate change. Big headline. The UN says that the world needs a better warning system to inform people about bad weather. A lot going on inside of story number 5 that could keep you informed and keep you up to date on what is actually happening inside of the climate change debate. That's why it almost made it to the top 3 this week, but it's at number 5, so it probably could keep bumping up. It was in the top 8 last week, so keep an eye on story number 5, especially when it comes to plastic and our everyday use of plastic and how it's actually been they're saying it's a lot of plastic inside of the ocean and inside of the water. So story number 5, big headline, big developing news story. Story number 6, the Republican Party is in a fight to not only maintain the majority, but to also maintain the party's values under Trump. It's a fact that the Republican Party is responsible for abolishing slavery inside the United States, and it is a fact that the Republican Party now has the majority and currently is in a battle to keep the majority in the Senate. So is Trump helping or hurting the party? That's a big question. Now, although Trump continues to cater to his base and they continue to support him, he could be tarnishing the image of the Republican Party along the way. And this is according to some report and some analysts. Now, at this moment, this is just speculation, but ethically, his handling of the business of the American people is catching the attention of the world, not just people inside the United States. Many supporters seem to flock to this president's aid, but the damage may have already been done. If this is his strategy, this may cost him the election. We don't know, but the data right now, the numbers are showing that Biden is leading in the polls, but we'll see how this turns out. It may be clear in a clear sight that the political climate in America, not even just in Trump's case, but in Biden's as well, could be taking a turn that may be hard to explain to many law-abiding taxpayers. So that means that the field of politics could actually have revealed itself under this president. The dealings, not only just, I hate to say corruption, but just the things that have made people's views when it comes to politics change, and some people say they knew it the whole time. Now, this includes Democrats. I don't want to say just Republicans, because a militia, a group actually tried to kidnap Michigan's governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Now, this is probably hasn't been seen in this state, in this type of this is 2020, so this style of aggressiveness hasn't been seen in this age. There's even talk about how the presidential debate had to be canceled, not only just because of coronavirus, but because of the situation that we're in right now when it comes to the political climate. So there's a lot going on inside of story number 6, but we have to ask ourselves now, would this have changed if COVID-19 would have never come around? So story number 6, a lot of details, a lot going on when you talk about politics, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, the image of the Republican Party, the values, the tradition, and how a lot of that has been revealed and put on the table. This story is still developing, but it will have a lot to do with if this president is elected or not elected. So keep an eye on story number 6. Big headline, big developing news story. Whew. Story number 7 in the top 2 international headlines and developing news stories that made in this week. The health strategy is working depending on who you are. If you are in the gym every day and practicing safe health habits, data shows that the health strategy and plans in place could be working for you. But there's a but. If you have children covered under government programs and practice unsafe health habits, the data is showing that there could be a problem. So could this be the solution to a growing healthcare problem in America? Getting people informed and providing a delivery method to those with pre-existing conditions, getting them treated, while sitting in the oversight committee for those drastically affected by poor health habits, finding somebody to keep watch. Could this be a solution? Now, this, along with high medical costs, is what's nagging the United States healthcare system, and coronavirus just exposed it even more. It's evident that the healthcare system is in crisis depending on who you are. Some people have high medical bills, some people don't. Some people don't go to the medical, don't depend on the medical field. Some people treat themselves. Some people don't go to the doctors at all. But this is all tying in to why the United States is having such a big problem, and when it comes to health care. Now, the virus alone is costing the United States and the world trillions of dollars. So the medical industry, when it comes to cost, aid, and getting people informed, this is all tying into healthcare, and why story number 7 is in the top 2 this week, because we cannot forget about health, and we cannot forget about the heroes on the health room floor who may not be getting paid what they feel they are worth. Story number 7 ties into a big field of commotion and chaos inside of healthcare. That's why it made it to the top 2 this week. It should be a hot topic on the campaign trail, and it should be on everybody's minds when you go to the polls. Story number 8 in the top international headline and developing news story that made it in this week. China is moving on, but the fact is that someone has to pay for the damage done by COVID-19. Reports show that China's trade is growing while everyone else battles COVID-19. Exports rose 9.9%, while imports grew 13.2%. This is a critical story because as most of the world battles COVID-19 and struggles to meet trade demands, China is up and running to meet those demands. This is another big story to keep an eye on inside of this crisis. China is set to test an entire city of 9 million people for COVID-19 to prevent another outbreak. This is another developing story that includes China that could cause a ripple effect across the globe. The Vatican is under fire for renewing a deal with China, according to Fox News. China is well known for the persecution of Christians, so that's another key talking point inside of this story. The global demand for hair comes from forced labor in China, if you did not know that. This is according to a report by CNN. The hair market is a big booming business, especially inside of the African American community. A report by Fox News says that China ended its NBA blackout by airing the Lakers versus Heat finals. This is another big story inside of the battle between China and the world when it comes to COVID-19, because somebody has to be accountable for what is happening inside of this, just the effect that COVID-19 has had on the world economies. At the moment, the Trump administration seems to be the only U.S. government body going public in an attempt to hold China accountable for the COVID-19 saga. News stories are popping up. A lot is being revealed about COVID-19. At the end of the day, we want to be buddies with everybody and we want to have a lasting relationship, but 2 global powers are at it right now, and the world is suffering from COVID-19, and somebody has to pay for this disease that has caused trillions and trillions of dollars of problems. Families have been affected, jobs have been lost. Story number 8. That's why I made it to the top this week. It has all of the ingredients to start a conversation and really get people's eye on what is actually happening. Well, those are our top 8 local and international stories that made it this week. I want to thank, as usual, the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle. If you want to show us some support, all you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Well, my job here is done for this week. I'm going to do it all over again next week. Read through over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed and find out which ones are the top to lead you into the next week. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Whew. I'm out of here. Peace. Have a good week, everybody.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.